Some guy was sitting on the roof of the house and said that it seemed like the gods were not on his side this time. He apologized to his sister because he was very sorry that he had not found the bastard who harmed her, and he was also very sorry that he could not fulfill the employer's order. There was less and less time on the clock. Suddenly a storm began. Humanity has become slaves of time. Birth itself is a scale that shows the duration of your life. Once time reaches zero, you become a monster, a temporary monster. To survive in this world, you must kill them all. But not all of them are so easy to deal with. Personally, this guy couldn't handle it. City of Liverpool. Recently, outbreaks of the disease have become more frequent, so there are more requests. Therefore, the guy decided to take up his old job, after which he could earn enough time capsules. He will be able to transfer his sister to a better hospital. He asked his sister not to worry and said that everything would be fine. He began to remember the very day when the accident happened to his sister. He promised that he would find whoever hurt his sister and make him pay. At this time, the director came into the room and began to talk with someone about the corpses. He did not understand why these corpses should be processed. Why take care of these dead people? They are worth nothing. You just need to find a place for them and throw them away. As it turned out, the director came in to tell the guy, whose name turned out to be Michael, that it was time to pay. But the guy was indignant because he believed that the payment would be tomorrow, to which the director replied that the price had been received. The time capsules had already been used up. The man got mad. He ordered the guy to either pay or just get lost, and said that his sister had already spent a lot of time capsules. The doctor said that if my sister left this hospital, she would definitely die, after which the guy gave the doctor 7 days. Looking at his hand, the doctor felt better when he found time for himself, but he also said that it takes 5 days. If the guy doesn't pay in 5 days, then they will no longer be there. The guy was clearly furious about this situation. 16 years ago, a meteorite fell. The meteorite caused great destruction, and a strange firestorm arose. Those who touched the temporary storm became monsters. Monsters of time. These clocks record the life expectancy of each person and can be traded by interacting with each other. Once this happened, time became money. Food required a 2-hour snack, sweets, milk, and tea. One milk tea takes 30 minutes. Even if they want to give birth to a child, they must also pay for 1 year of life, otherwise the child will die. But the guy's memories were interrupted by the director, who began to yell at the whole room. Those who survived not only had to endure the pain of losing their loved ones, but also had to experience much more stress. They had to work hard to earn time capsules to prolong life, and on the other hand, they needed to eat as hunger leads to time is shrinking even faster. But some got rich thanks to luck. Michael's reminiscences were interrupted by the director, who began yelling at the entire room. Michael couldn't understand what was happening. If you run out of time, you will die, and after death you will become time monsters. Michael immediately noticed the monster's hand. As it turned out, there was a bracelet on his hand from the room with corpses, but the guy could not understand how this happened, unless in the room for corpses they process bodies before they become monsters of time. The director offered Mike to protect him, and in return he would give him 3 months of free treatment for his sister. Seconds later, the monster was heading towards the director. The director was clearly not prepared for such a turn of events, but the guy did not waste time and thought through his actions, after which the monster struck. The guy immediately took out a knife. As it turned out, this monster had only recently transformed. Its rank should be around D2. The guy just needs to destroy the core. This core will instantly kill the monster, after which the monster literally began to burn. The director didn't expect the guy to be so strong and immediately asked where he worked. When the guy extended his hand to the director to help him get up, he hit him and told him not to touch him. He asked not to touch him with the hand with which he killed the monster. The guy reminded the director of his promise, but the man pretended that he had not promised anything and repeated once again that the guy could fail if he could not pay in 5 days. This area is too dangerous. The guy can't let his sister stay here. The housing issue needs to be resolved because they can't live here. The guy took the phone in his hands. Then he put the phone to his ear. The guy recruited someone, after which he said that he was the night wanderer whom someone wanted to recruit, and he accepted their mission and asked them to send everything they needed. In this apocalyptic world, the city of Liverpool became a refugee for humanity. In this city, there were 4 large nightly detachments. Night Group of Glory, which protects the city, provides security and prevents illegal events, as well as the police. The Night Defense Group, which acts as city guards, protects the citizens by preventing the invasion of temporary zombies and monsters. A nightly group of marauders who clear out surrounding houses and extract resources for the city of Liverpool. A nightly group of wanderers who alone carry out missions in the wilderness and maintain relations with the city. After which the guy went into the wild zone. It is very dangerous and ordinary people are forbidden to leave the city without permission. The man asked the guy to come to his senses and be careful, because lately there have been more stray monsters here. After a short conversation, the guy hit the road. The distance between the city of Birmingham and the city of Liverpool is about 80 kilometers. If only the guy still had his transport, he could return within a day. But in order to pay his sister's medical bills, he had to sell all his valuable equipment and even his beloved motorcycle. Without transport, he can only move on foot. It will take him more than 3 days. As it turned out, he had an item with him that the owner asked him to deliver. If he could deliver it to the city, he would receive 200 days as a reward. Walking through an abandoned city, he notices a monster in front of him. This distance is not far from the city. A group of marauder knights had to clear this place. The guy couldn't figure out why there were still temporary zombies here. Fortunately, the light in the zombie's chest had weakened, and he must be a D3 zombie. Naturally, a split second later, the zombie attacked him. But that was not the case. The guy plunged his knife straight into the zombie's chest. The chest of a temporary zombie is their special place. Breaking the time crystal, people can absorb the energy of time inside on such temporary zombies. Such zombies travel alone. They are the easiest to hunt. The guy's time increased by 130 days. The guy is so unlucky because 3 temporary zombies suddenly appeared. All of them are D5 rank monsters. Even if he is at the peak of his strength, he can only deal with 2 D5 rank zombies. Not to mention that now his equipment is not what it used to be earlier. Fortunately, he quickly ran away. If he had not made it in time, he would have died here. This place is too dangerous. He must climb the stairs and hide first. But going up to the roof on one of the floors, there was a huge monster. As it turned out, it was a D7 rank monster. The guy must run since he cannot win. He will definitely die if he fights with him. After the monster attacked him, he tried to bite off his hand. The guy could not somehow throw him away. After the monster flew into the wall, the guy still went to the roof. Standing on the roof, he heard a zombie behind him trying to break onto the roof. After a few seconds, the zombie was still able to get out and attack the guy. But the guy was able to somehow dodge the monster's attack, plunge the knife straight into the chest. Well, as it turned out, this was not enough, and he was unable to break through his defense. Oddly enough, after a second, the monster threw the guy several meters away from him. After the monster tried to attack the lying guy, he threw him over the fence and he flew down. But it was logical that from such a height the monster would not die. But it doesn't matter. There is no point in thinking about it. The guy is not so badly injured. The guy had already begun to apologize for the fact that he could not protect his sister, and he also began to apologize to his sister for the fact that he still could not find that bastard to avenge her. He also apologized to the customer for not being able to complete the task. Then he broke the stone he was holding in his hands. A second later, a panel appeared in front of him. Looking at his hand, the guy noticed that his time had stopped decreasing, but he also had 1 second left. He also noticed that his wound had healed. The panel showed all the guy's information. His name is Michael, his strength is D6, and his lifetime is 1 second. A notification appeared on the panel that the guy had received a beginner's package, and he immediately clicked on it. He received a dagger of burning flames. With the help of elemental abilities, he can increase the temperature. He also received silent boots. Thanks to the power of the elements, he can increase his speed and reduce the noise created when moving. The guy got a lot of new and interesting things. A split second later, the guy noticed that a second zombie was breaking through the door. Michael immediately began to deal with him. The guy couldn't believe that this time he wouldn't be able to punch through the zombies. The guy used an improved mountain-crushing fist skill. With the combination of mountain-crushing fist and weapon, burning flame dagger, the guy does so much damage. It used to be such a scary zombie for him. Now he is killed by him in 1 hit, although he was weakened. But the guy became stronger. The guy couldn't believe it because his strength had not increased for a long time, but now it had increased after killing the D7-time monster. Facing life and death trials is the fastest way to increase your level. The guy heard that physical awakening and elemental awakening cannot exist together. No one can have both. Physical awakening is one of the 10 elemental power awakenings, can strengthen the physical body. A person will gain terrifying fighting abilities. Elemental awakening, 1 in 100, awakens mental power, allowing them to create elemental powers. Some can control water, some fire. The guy received a rare attribute of lightning. The elements are divided into water, fire, wood, earth, ice, lightning. Lightning is a rare ability. The guy was ready for his little sister. A girl appeared in front of the guy who turned out to be the customer, and her name was Grace. The girl explained her presence by saying that she was worried and therefore followed him and asked where her object was. The guy deceived the girl and said that he had lost the stone, but the girl couldn't believe it because it was a birthday present and her mother almost died to receive it. The guy asked where she got this stone from. The girl explained this by saying that she found and picked it up because it looked beautiful, but also decided to give it to her mother for her birthday. Now that the guy lost it, he will have to pay her. The girl gave him 300 days as payment for delivery. She does not want much, but simply asks him to return 300 days to her. But the guy said that he doesn't have that much now. The guy offered to pay for 100 days first, and he would pay the rest later. The girl warned the guy to remember that he still owes her 200 days. If he dares to run away, she will sue him. The girl started to leave. Temporary zombies roamed the streets. The guy still couldn't understand how the girl managed to escape from these monsters. The guy has little time left, so he better hurry up and kill a couple of creatures. From around the corner, the guy swung his hand and was ready to strike a powerful blow to the zombies. It was as easy as shelling pears for the guy. Taking this time crystal from a zombie is like taking candy from a child. A few minutes later, several dead zombies were lying behind the guy. The guy already had 519 days on his account. This is a great way to get a head start to earn a little more time before returning. They can move to the outer area and change the hospital for the sister. The city is divided into 4 areas from the inside to the outside, namely the central area, the inner, outer, and outer, then the closer to the extreme, the more dangerous. The guy bought some kind of potion and drank it. The guy drank 4 bottles of the genetic potion and finally moved from D7 to D8. It's expensive, but still much faster than regular training. If the guy trained on his own, he wouldn't have reached the next level in a year. Apart from water and food, the most valuable items outside the city are medical supplies. Although absorbing crystals is temporarily beneficial, if you are not careful, there will be more time lost than time earned. Although it is a little expensive, it saves more time than conventional treatment. Bracers of the Rising Fist can be used as a score, can greatly enhance the ability in an instant. Another improved weapon, combined with a blade, a strike technique, and D8 strength, the guy will be able to kill zombies of D9 rank with 1 blow. Since it's getting dark, it's time to go back. The guy heard someone shouting for help on the street, and when he looked out, he saw Grace. The girl ran into some room and closed herself. It is clear that the guy subsequently killed all the zombies. The guy thinks that the delivery of the item was just a ruse. She wanted the guy to accompany her to London, but she did all this because delivery costs less than escort, and she chose him because he has a means of transportation and it is convenient for her to follow him. After the guy extended his hand, the girl immediately fell to the floor because she thought that he would beat her, after which they nevertheless set off. This world is very cruel. They were standing somewhere at a post in front of the city. After the girl insulted the guy's city, he said that their city is greedy. Outsiders have to pay for 5 days, after which the girl decided to dress up. As it turned out, the dress had a windproof mode, and it was very uncomfortable. Maybe the city is broken. An alternative route leads through the meter zone. The guy has friends who know this area very well. He can introduce the girl to them if necessary. After which the guy said goodbye to the girl and left. The guy came to the hospital. A man ran out of the hospital and screamed almost all over the street. The guy immediately ran to his sister, after which the director ran into the room. He said that he would give the guy 300 days if he protected him and began to give him 300 days. The guy was surprised that the director actually gave 300 days. It looks like he was seriously scared. As it turns out, this whole mess is happening because of funding. The hospital cannot afford to do the treatment. The guy began to fight. He literally killed 3 zombies with one swing. 1d3 and 2d1 are just garbage for a guy now. A crystal lit up in the man's chest. The guy decided to give his time to his sister and transfer her to a better hospital, and in a split second he attacked the guy. It is clear that he was able to dodge this. The man was reincarnated due to an unnatural death when he had more than 20,000 days under his belt. Natural death is death from old age, or death from disease, which occurs over time, in which case, although it is possible to transform time in life, the probability of this is small, accidental death or fatal injury in which a person dies before the end of time. Despite the fact that he had many days, the more time left at the time of death, the greater the likelihood of becoming a temporary zombie, the more powerful he is. Given all this time, if the transformation is complete, Guy C6, he must be killed before he fully transforms, otherwise it will be a disaster for the entire city. The guy used the breaking mountain blow and attacked the director, but that was not the case. The zombie managed to block the blow and threw the guy several meters away. The zombie already had strength. The director had almost completely transformed, and the guy couldn't defeat him in close combat. The guy bought a healing potion and a powerful shot pistol, after which the guy was ready to shoot. This he did in a split second. At this time, the captain was at the scene of the incident. A few seconds later, the captain heard shots fired into the building, after which he went into the building. At this time, everyone else remained outside. They began to fight the zombies. They fought with a pistol. We can say that we did not defeat them without any obstacles. It is clear that the fighters were aiming for the chest in order to finally kill the monsters. Unfortunately, the code states that when meeting with a time zombie, the priority is to acquire time crystals. The partner said that the guy should not worry. Even if the time crystal is confiscated, they will still be confiscated. The partners noticed that at least 3 zombies were approaching them. The captain said that shots were coming from the eastern side of the 3rd floor. He would go and check, and ordered his subordinates to take care of the remaining points, after which the partners began to kill the monsters, and the captain went to the 3rd floor. The captain reached the 3rd floor. When the captain reached his destination, he saw the dead director in front of him and a guy standing over him. When the guy noticed the captain, he immediately put away his weapon. As it turned out, the captain used to be a wanderer. He can be considered Michael's colleague. The captain could not understand how the guy could defeat the zombies alone. The guy lied that the monster had not yet fully transformed. He just took advantage of the moment. The captain reflected on the topic that even if the transformation is not completed, he still belongs to Class C, and it takes a lot of strength to defeat him. Most likely Michael has already outgrown Level D. While the captain was telling him that he had been promoted to Knight of Glory half a month ago, a zombie was approaching from behind him. A split second later, he pounced on the captain. Michael reacted quickly and fired a bullet straight into the monster's head, after which the captain threw him back several meters. After the captain ran up to the monster, he plunged a bullet straight into his chest. After the captain asked, a guy with a new D8 level came to them. The guy confirmed this and said that they had not seen each other for a long time. After leaving the building, the captain began to announce that 63 people had died of natural death, but 28 time crystals had been converted. The loss rate was getting higher and higher. The captain asked if the guy was okay, to which he replied that he was. The guy showed his hand and said that this battle returned a lot of money to him, after which the captain told his subordinates to leave. They, having listened to the captain, left. The captain's first question was where the guy was, to which he replied that he found him outside the city a couple of days ago. In this world, long-range weapons possessing great lethality must be numbered and strictly regulated. The captain told the guy not to forget to hide it. Fortunately, only he saw it. Otherwise, the guy would have been in big trouble. In the future, the guy should be careful and not use the system's weapons in the presence of people. 6 months ago, the guy's sister had an accident, and the guy applied for a long leave to look after her. The captain thought that the guy would not sit still, but did not expect that the guy would not only not lag behind, but would even be on the verge of that you surpass the captain. But the guy said that he was still far from becoming a captain. The captain said that the guy could not train and take care of his sister at the same time. He would waste his talent. It just so happens that the Doomsday training camp is recruiting again. The captain thinks that the guy should try. If he is accepted, it will be quite good. This proposal clearly surprised the guy. In the face of an ever-increasing apocalyptic crisis, it is important to develop truly strong people. 5 years ago, the senior management decided to create a doomsday training camp. Those who were selected received the best treatment and resources. Every year, there is a single intake for the doomsday camp, and only selected young people under the age of 18 who have exceptional talent are selected. Last year, Michael participated, but unfortunately did not make it. If the guy did end up in the camp, not only would he be protected, but his family would too if he was chosen. His sister would be able to be treated at the research center's exclusive hospital, so the guy would no longer have to worry about his sister's safety. The guy told the captain what he would think about. The captain said that he was confident in the guy, adding that he still needed to do something, so he would go first. The guy was sure that he would definitely go to the camp this time. The never luxurious area is now almost without people. Since it was built on the outer outskirts of the city, there are now many more houses than people. You can live in any of them. Michael chose a location in the middle of the block, on the bottom floor, so that he would have more time to react in case of danger. He entered the room. He noticed that the pain in his chest was no longer so strong, which means he was getting used to it. The guy asked the system to open a store. Lying on the sofa, he looked at the system. The effect of the healing potion from here is good. It is as effective as a day's bottle of healing potion sold on the street. But there are rules in the system. He can only use what he can redeem for himself. Otherwise, he may earn time by selling potion. To obtain residence rights in the outer region, you need to make a deposit of 300 days per person, which is enough for them to move with their sister. The guy decided to use the remaining time to update. The guy just leveled up 2 levels in a row. His control powers are already a little weaker, so he can't increase his powers anymore, in which case he can try to level up his abilities first. The psychotropic potion can be used to enhance mental abilities, which can be used to further increase the power of skills. Unfortunately, the guy doesn't have much money. In any case, the guy decided to buy a psychotropic potion. A bottle of psychotropic potion worth 500 days could not raise his mind power to D2 level. The guy decided to buy another bottle of psychotropic medication, and only after that the guy's mental strength increased, and he also got a chance to play the lottery. It took 2 bottles of spirit potion to increase the level of D2, so it is not surprising that meditation is so expensive, but without money the guy will not be able to buy it. In any case, there is good news. With each increase in his indicator, the guy can play the lottery. The guy was lucky, and meditation costs 2,000 days in the store. When the mind power does not have this level of power, the guy will be able to become invincible. Even if the guy is still at D level, he will still be able to deal with C-level enemies. After which the guy did not use the Starry Sky meditation, but someone interrupted him by knocking on the door. It's clear that the guy asked who was standing there. As it turned out, it was Grace. The guy asked how she was doing. The girl said that the guy said that the girl could come to him if anything happened. The girl said that she was deceived by a night wanderer named James, who had a motorcycle. He said that he could deliver her back safe and sound in 200 days, but he asked to give the money in advance. After the girl paid in full, he told her to wait there and allegedly went to bring the motorcycle. The girl said that she had very little time left, and she had no choice but to come to Michael. But the guy said that he had lost her goods and had already paid her for 100 days, and he would return the rest. But the girl said that she still could not return to her city. As it turned out, the girl is at level D5. The girl tried to find a job to cover her expenses, but in the end she found that finding a good job was too difficult. The guy said that his sister was in a car accident and is unconscious, and he needs someone to look after her and protect her. But the guy asked to evaluate the girl first, after which she was ready to strike. But the guy easily dodged this blow and tripped her. A split second later, the girl fell to the floor. The girl began to cry and condemned the guy for treating girls like that. The psychic practices the power of the mind, which enhances the ability to manipulate a person's mind to achieve physical strength. People strengthen their body and learn new techniques. But with a strong physique and without a fighting base, one cannot be a true fighter capable of dealing with difficulties. This girl is probably the eldest daughter of one of the families. The guy said that the girl was too weak. He could not understand how she managed to get out of the building without being noticed by the temporary zombies. The girl said that she has a thing that makes her invisible, but it only works on temporary monsters that are 3 levels stronger than her. The guy said that starting tomorrow, the girl will be in charge of caring for his sister. Her daily salary will be 2 days. This salary is very high even for the outside area. Under normal circumstances, the daily salary of ordinary people is 35 hours. The girl noticed that although this guy is strange, he is not a bad person. The guy said that the girl could go and come tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the morning. He would take her to the hospital. The girl hoped that she could live with the guy. After the guy asked where the girl lived, she replied that she lived in Silton. Silton is a 5-star hotel and the nightly rate is 10 days, which is truly luxurious. When a beautiful girl is left alone with a man, shouldn't she be afraid? To this, the girl said that she was not afraid. If the guy wanted to do something with her, he would have done it a long time ago. The guy still agreed, saying that the girl could stay. The next day, the guy couldn't understand why there were so many guards. This is most likely due to yesterday's incident. The guy brought the girl to room 311. The guy showed his sister and said that her job is to look after her. In a few days, he will hire another person who will alternate with the girl. When he leaves here, there are nurses in the hospital, but they are ordinary people. If there is a second incident like that one, to be earlier, even 10 nurses will not be enough to kill a temporary zombie. Grace told the guy not to worry and that she would take care of the girl. The guy said that he would go on business and would come when he was finished. Entrance to the outer area. There is no branch camp in the outer one, so Michael needs to get into the outer area first if he wants to qualify. He showed the guard his meter. Access for people who have at least 300 days on their account. This is to prevent the entry of desperate people whose time is about to be updated. Thereby, this efficiency reduces the crime rate of its outer area. The guy was standing in front of a building that said Doomsday Camp. He was 100% sure that this time he would definitely succeed. He provided his ID, but not far from here, some redneck was breaking the rules. The white-haired guy asked passers-by if they saw him coming here. Cars in this city are considered a symbol of the time when Liverpool strenuously resisted the time zombies. If a person can afford a car, he is definitely unusual. The guy did a drift, if you can call it that, and then parked. He got out of the car and there was a charming girl with him. As it turned out, this guy's name was James, and before he turned 18, he had already served as a captain in a detachment of wanderers. What surprised Michael was that he was already a C rank at such a young age. One of the guys heard that he was only at D8 level, but the guy couldn't understand how he became a captain then, because isn't it a mandatory requirement that you have a C-level power to be a captain in any of the 4 divisions of knights? The guy remembered that Grace said yesterday that a guy with a similar name promised to transfer her to her city, and he decided to check it out. He walked up brazenly and simply took a photo of the guy. As it turned out, it was the guy who deceived the girl. After 10 minutes, an examiner came out to the people to conduct an entrance exam to the camp. He said that there are 3 tests. The first test is a comprehensive physical fitness test. All candidates must follow it. Candidates began to line up. The first physical test is a comprehensive test of speed, strength, and reflexes, and the use of enhanced weapons or other methods is prohibited. The speed test is a 100m sprint. You need to run it in 5.5 seconds. Among the crowd, Michael asked James if he had deceived Grace for 200 days. The guy said that he had never seen such naive people, and even if she was not deceived, someone else would deceive her. The cost of escorting people to Liverpool is not cheap now, not to mention that 200 days ago, James was surprised that the girl really wanted to ride his car for that amount. Michael reported that James did not deserve to be a wanderer. James said that he knows Michael and that his sister is in serious condition. If the guy doesn't want something to happen to her, he better shut up. It was clear that there was hostility between them, after which Michael was called onto the track. He started running as fast as he could. As it turned out, Michael ran with the best result of minus 4.35 seconds. Everyone in the hall was shocked by this result. Only James was furious at this. When they took the strength test, Michael hit 856 kilograms. Everyone in the hall was shocked because Michael is so strong that an ordinary D8 level fighter hits about 800 kilograms, but he hit 856 kilograms. The next test was a reaction test. Randomly shoots 100 high-speed jumping swords. Within 10 seconds, you have to dodge 60 or more swords. Michael started taking the test. When the guy scored 100, everyone present was perplexed. James alone was understandably furious. Everyone was in complete shock because the best result was at least 81, and Michael scored 100. In fact, in addition to the fact that the guy is a person with enhanced physical capabilities, he is also a psychic. With the help of mental power, he can perceive the subtle movements of each machine gun and react in advance. Michael asked the examiner if he had passed his first test. Michael, who passed the comprehensive physical fitness test with flying colors, gained access to the next stage. The examiner looked at his tablet. The second test, a fight in which candidates can use their techniques and improvements. Then the person whose name is read by the examiner is disarmed. The two enter the ring to measure their strength. The winner advances to the next round. The loser is eliminated, after which the examiner announced the first participants. They began to fight. At this time, James told Michael that he had been so impudent recently, but a little more and he would understand his place. The examiner announced that the next fight would be James versus Michael. Michael was scared that James has the same last name as the examiner, so he is afraid that the relationship between them is very unusual. In any case, in the face of ordinary strength, all tricks are lost. Michael was sure that a scumbag like James, who would only disgrace the reputation of the Knights, did not have a chance. After these words, James immediately began to attack. The guy's fists literally collided. James couldn't understand how Michael's blow could be stronger. Mocking, Michael asked James not to complain because the show was still ahead. Michael then used the mountain-breaking punch, and James used Tiger Strike, but Michael was still able to push James a few meters away. Then he began to finish him off. A split second later, James flew several meters away. Michael stood and looked at the fallen James. Michael said that James's powers would not help kill even a D7 level zombie. In fact, him becoming the captain of the Knights was simply a humiliation of the honor of the Knights. Michael noticed that James's movements had slowed down for him. Physical strength can strengthen the body, and mental strength can give a fighter reading movements that are imperceptible to ordinary people. For Michael, the movements of his opponent seemed to be in slow motion. After James tried to attack the guy, he dealt him a powerful blow right in the stomach. James could not understand why Michael was so strong, after which he put some kind of ring on his hand. James said that Michael would die for all this. Michael was ready to fend off James's attack. But Michael noticed that there was a poison needle on James's arm, after which he grabbed his arm and threw him to the floor. After Michael reported that James had cheated, the examiner ran up to them. But the man said that on the contrary, Michael was a deceiver. Such words, of course, outraged the guy. The examiner accused Michael of using a poison needle to win. He reported that the examiner would disqualify Michael from this stage, and indeed the needle was lying right next to Michael. The examiner reiterated that Michael was suspended, and after this situation, Michael realized that he and James were at the same time. Everyone present was shocked by this, but Michael went to his things to prepare to show something. He took out his phone and showed a photo of James, who had a ring on his hand. The examiner and James were shocked. The examiner admitted his guilt and informed Michael that he was waiting for him here at 2 p.m. for the third test. Michael noticed that the examiner was strong. His level was at least C4. James informed Michael that this was not the end. Michael simply looked at James without any reaction to his words. As a precaution, let it remain this way. Then the guy will set something up with James after he passes the third test. James said that he had to take revenge. As it turned out, the examiner was James's brother. He asked him to rely on him and said that he had a plan. The guy decided to go to a cafe to pass the time. The guy couldn't understand why there wasn't a single contender next to him because it was almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The guy asked the man sitting at the post why there was no one here. As it turned out, the venue was changed. The new venue is located at the southwestern wall. The guy couldn't understand why no one told him about this. The man replied that everyone should have received a text message and asked the guy to look at the phone. But as it turned out, there was no message on the phone. Most likely the examiner was involved in this. As it turned out, there were only 16 minutes left. Michael ran as fast as he could. The examiner said that there were 2 minutes left, and anyone who came later would be considered disqualified. One of the guys standing couldn't understand why James was with the examiner all the time, but the second guy warned him that if he didn't want problems, then it was better not to talk about them, as Mike basically thought the examiner and James were involved in this. James said what Michael will receive after the exam. James was perplexed when he saw Michael in front of him. As it turned out, Michael still has boots obtained by the system. They are much faster. Silent boots can increase the wearer's speed by 50%. The examiner was also surprised that the guy was able to make it in time, but Michael intended to take revenge on him this time. The examiner said that James would stand in place of the latecomer. The third test is that they go out of town and kill temporary zombies. They do not have to use the best equipment, only what is provided by the exam. All weapons will be stored here. If they are spotted with weapons during the test, they will be in trouble, after which all the candidates changed into uniform. Examiners and candidates stood near the entrance to the area where the tests will take place. There are few time zombies in the area, and each of them has their own number. After candidates finish off one of them, they use their scanner to save information about it. Each camera gives an extra point. The higher the chance of passing the exam. The examiner said that the exam time is 1 hour. The top 10 will pass the exam. He gives them 10 minutes to prepare. Michael spent a lot of energy. He needs to restore his mind, thinking, breathing. 2 candidates promised someone that they would take care of Michael. Oddly enough, it was James. He reported that in room 205 on the second floor of Block 1, there was an enhanced weapon as payment for them. James said that by going against him, he finds himself in big trouble. The exam has begun. In building number 9, Michael met his first zombie. He hit him with ease. Even though they are currently in the exam, the time crystals are still very valuable. Michael got +3 points. Michael will easily get into the top 10 and pass this test. After each selection, only 10 recruits are recruited. But now Michael does not have enhanced weapons. Michael asked the system to open a store. The guy bought a quick dash. In an instant, you take off with great speed. And that's exactly what happened. Michael took off at breakneck speed in a split second. He barely stopped. It's a pity that this acceleration can be used for a second. It can only be used at intervals of a minute. Michael decided to go upstairs and see the situation. The guy easily continued to destroy the zombies. He quickly gained time for himself. On the way to the roof, Michael killed 2 more zombies. That's another 5 points. But he's still in 3rd place. Everyone here is capable. James is such a shady guy, he will never play fair. Michael felt that someone wanted to attack him from behind. It is clear that Michael was able to dodge this blow, after which Michael asked the guy who he was and why he attacked him. Going onto the roof, the second guy told the first why he didn't use the boost on the first attack, to which he replied that Michael was just fast. One of the guys still answered Michael why they attacked him, because he crossed someone's path. Michael immediately thought of James. Among the 20 participants, there are twin brothers with the same last name. If the guy is right, then these 2 guys are Stefan and Ben. Well, the twins didn't care that the guy guessed, because they were outside the city and not subject to existing laws. As it turns out, James only wants Michael's leg, but the twins have received such a big favor from James that 1 leg is not enough, so they will take his life. The guy agreed with the twins, and the truth is that if the guy kills them outside the city, then nothing will happen to him. The twins told the guy that he apparently didn't quite understand the situation, but the guy said that it was the twins who didn't understand where they were getting into. The brothers got tired of talking to the guy, and they decided to start their duties. But Michael's facial expression changed in a split second. He shouted to one of the brothers to be careful, and the brother turned to look. It's clear that this was a distraction, and Michael used a quick dash. A split second later, Michael struck, after which the other brother flew at Michael with the hope that he could deal him a decisive blow. Michael, in some unimaginable way, was able to throw his brothers to the sides. The brother with the sword asked the brother with the daggers if everything was okay, to which he replied that everything was fine and asked to kill him, after which the brother went into battle. This sword is very strong as long as it doesn't hurt someone. Michael dodged the blows with ease. It felt like Michael was deliberately bullying his brother. It was clear from the brothers that they had never left the city, had never fought with temporary zombies. Their attacks had many gaps. Michael used Breaking Mountain Punch, after which the guy killed his brother. Ben noticed his brother lying on the floor, after which, before he could say a word, he saw a red-hot sword approaching in front of his face. As expected, in a split second, the guy finished off his second brother. Michael did not expect such strength from him. At this time, Michael was in a very calm state during the period of the beginning of the end, when everyone was fighting for their lives. These were not the first villains that Michael killed. The guy noticed that this sword was very good. It was probably expensive, but if they saw him, they would consider him a fraud. The guy decided to just wait until the end of the test and take this sword. Half an hour later. Fourth place, Michael, 28 points. Fifth place, James, 16 points. The guy deliberately did not scan all the codes. If you do the math, then his points should exceed the current first place of 36 points. It's best to keep it to yourself. Don't stand out too much. And who knows, maybe James does something different. Before the exam, the guy had about 1,000 days, and now it's almost 5,000. In this exam, the guy collected a lot of time crystals. Even if he fails this exam, this is already a good result. They are located outside the city, and after each hunt, the patrolman must take away almost all the time received, so he deliberately kept some crystals intact. This time will be enough to switch to D9. From D7 to D8, only 4 bottles of genetic potions were drunk. As a result, the guy drank 12 bottles in 2466 days. He knows how to spend money. After the guy played the lottery, he received the D-level ability of the Thundersnake. The guy decided to try a new skill on the roof. He used the Thundersnake technique, after which a hole appeared in the wall. Quite a lot. With this trick, the guy became an order of magnitude stronger. But it's better not to show it to anyone. It can be used as a secret weapon. The guy began to descend from the building, and the world really is small. The guy complained that the 2 brothers could not take the guy, and his rating only grew all this time. He told Michael that he was upset by his too lively appearance. They were ready for battle. Michael was serious this time. The guy said that he only wanted to deprive Michael of his leg, but he himself was asking for death. Since no one is around, they will solve all this quickly. After which they began to fight. The guy used execution with a whip, but Michael was able to dodge this blow and reported that it was too slow. After which Michael fired directly into the stomach, as he had done recently. James flew several meters away and began coughing. Mocking, Michael said that for people like James, even ordinary fists are enough. With a D9 level and mental powers, D8 attacks are like slow motion for the guy. Michael delivered a powerful blow from his fist directly to the face area. The guy said that James is just a mama's boy, living on his parents' money and also deceiving defenseless people. If he pays everything with interest, Michael will think about saving his life. James clearly didn't like this treatment. The guy used a move called Flashing Slash, after which Michael used Soul Destruction. James could barely stand. James couldn't understand how Michael could stop the attack from the upgraded weapon. James asked if Michael was on level D9. James couldn't believe that Michael had risen so high, because according to his data, the guy couldn't be on D9. But Michael said that there were a lot of things he didn't know about. He gave him 5 seconds to make the right decision. Otherwise, he will send him on a long journey. But he began to tell him that Michael could not kill him because he was the son of influential and rich people and his brother was an examiner. But Michael didn't see this as a problem. James realized that Michael really wanted to kill him. Seeing people behind him, James began to call for help. Extra eyes only complicate everything. The guy wanted to solve everything with James simply with the help of time crystals. But with the audience, this plan can be cancelled. After James saw people nearby, he stopped crying like a puppy and was already more courageous. Michael began to move in to strike. James told Michael to just try to hurt him. James was sure that Michael was not so stupid and he would not kill him. They began to fight. This time, James was lucky, but he will not go unpunished. After these words, Michael grabbed James's hand. Michael took out his knife. A split second later, the bracelet was no longer on James's hand. It shattered into pieces. James was perplexed by this outcome of events. This way, James won't be able to earn points when he kills someone. Now James is in 10th place, and then he will be in 11th place. He can only wait until he is eliminated. James was already in 11th place and seemed to have no hope. Michael advised James to just wait. James promised that Michael would definitely regret this action. James will definitely be watching in the near future. Michael will only take the weapon after a while. At the end of the test, the top 10 in points will go through the 3rd stage. The examiner asked to return to the meeting place. The examiner couldn't understand how James couldn't even beat those losers who were specifically appointed to make him pass. The brother said that there is no way to cheat the rating, and James can only wait for the next time. Perhaps James won't have to get his hands dirty. Half an hour later, agreement on admission to the Doomsday military camp. The examiner asked to read all the points in this document, their right to sign it or not. After signing the agreement, they will immediately receive a bonus for 500 days. They also receive permanent residence rights in the outer zone. Their monthly guaranteed salary also reaches 150 days, and this is the salary only for the internship period. Then there will be double salary. Conditions are much better now than then, and this is only the first batch of recruits. The examiner shouted to the entire room that if anyone refused to sign, they could leave. Michael decided that he would watch out for this guy. This camp was created by the owner of the city himself. All these payments and so on, you will need to undergo special training. The most important thing is that Michael's sister can receive good treatment. He simply cannot help but sign. At the moment when Michael signed the document, the examiner silently said that the guy was dead. The examiner said that further each of them can get a room here, from 601 to 610. They must decide for themselves. At 8 o'clock, they must assemble in the training room on the top floor without enhanced weapons. Michael chose number 606 for himself. At this time, Grace called him and asked how his exam went, to which he replied that everything went well. As it turned out, the examiner was watching Michael all this time. The examiner dialed someone and said that he needed to find someone. Michael has a sister who, 6 months ago, after a serious accident, lies in a coma in the 9th hospital of the extreme region, but the man also asked to do something else. Michael came to the rocking chair. The examiner and the main structure of the future training camp entered the room. The examiner told everyone to gather. As it turned out, the second man was a personal bodyguard, Master C9. Michael couldn't believe that the man was actually level C9. The man began to congratulate everyone who joined the Doomsday camp as participants in the Phoenix program. He introduced himself as the chief instructor of the future training camp. Project Phoenix is now the focus of the City Lord. As the name suggests, it has started to rise from the ashes. Even though they signed an agreement, it doesn't mean there is no way back. They can terminate the agreement and refuse any benefits at any time. Their instructor will be responsible for their training in the future. Michael was clearly not happy about this. The man said that 10 of them will be given to the examiner. He wants him to promote them all to C level within 3 months, after which the man left. The examiner said that they don't have much time, so he will start. Today, he will teach them a D-level technique. This is a boxing technique. He asked them to study it well. The first person the examiner called, oddly enough, was Michael. Michael wondered to himself, what kind of doomsday training camp is this? This is not a place where James's family can do anything. The guy was interested to see what the examiner was up to. After Michael asked the examiner if he wanted to avenge his brother, he replied that although his brother was useless, he was a member of his family. Michael should not mess with their family. The examiner said that the guy had better not provoke him, or he would experience the full power of the family. The level D technique that the examiner is talking about is called Tiger Style. A split second later, the examiner was struck. It is clear that Michael was able to dodge this blow. The examiner clearly did not expect that Michael would be able to dodge. A moment later, the examiner struck a second blow and Michael also dodged it, after which the examiner used a level D technique, a gust of wind. Oddly enough, Michael dodged this time too. Michael was concerned about the examiner's use of improved skills. At this time, everyone present discussed this battle. The instructor said that Michael had good skills, after which he told him to come down. When the instructor is being watched by a window of people, it is not easy for him to fight vigorously. He must be careful. After an hour, this Tiger Style is good, much better than the Wind Fist that one of the candidates studied. This camp has a good reputation. They train well, for D ranks for sure. If they had not bought this technique, it would have cost them about 500 days. The instructor said that they were leaving now and meeting here at 8 o'clock. The instructor said that Michael would go with him, after which he showed that a man was sitting in the room with his sister, and Grace was tied up. Michael said that the instructor should not even dare touch his sister, otherwise he would regret it. If a guy doesn't want his sister to have an accident, he needs to listen to him. Michael must save his sister. The man led him into a building. They were driving to a destination, and the guy didn't know what to expect. They stopped on the 5th floor. There seemed to be no network here at all. If the instructor wanted to do something to the guy, he could get away with it. The guy has a D9 level, and he also awakened the lightning ability. He must protect himself. The sister is in the hands of the instructor, so for now you need to listen to him. If he really has something in mind, then his strength should be enough. The guy noticed something interesting on the side of him. He wondered why there were so many animals here. My sister loved small animals very much and always wanted to raise one. But due to a temporary outbreak, the ecology of the planet was disrupted. The animals almost completely died out. People cannot afford to raise pets, because at least just a cat costs 100 days. The guy said that when his sister wakes up, he will definitely buy her a pet. The guy was at first surprised by so much water, and then asked if there were any fish. The guy saw an electric eel in front of him, only it was surprisingly too huge. The instructor told the guy to stop staring and walk faster with him. The guy couldn't understand what was going on here at all. He had the idea that they were conducting some kind of experiment. The man turned to the professor and said that he had brought him a new assistant. The professor called the guy a very strong young man. He hoped that he would last longer. The man said that the guy was here to help the professor complete the experiment. Naturally, the guy asked what experiment we were talking about. The man said that the guy should not worry, just a little experience. As long as the guy helps the professor, his grievances with his family will not mean anything. The man also added that his sister would also be fine, but if he refused, there would be certain consequences. The professor said that he needed to check the guy's condition and told him to go to bed. The guy thought about it because he couldn't understand where it would all lead. The man said that he was giving him 3 seconds. Fortunately, the guy's mental strength was sufficiently pumped up. If they tied him up, at the critical moment he would be able to free himself. A few seconds later, the guy was already chained. The professor told the guy not to worry because these chains are made of the skin of an iron rhinoceros. Even C rank is not able to destroy them. After the temporary explosion, not only people changed, but animals on land also began to mutate, and everyone had different characteristics. But no matter what exactly has changed, they have become more like monsters, and the iron rhinoceros is one of them. The professor invited the guy to meet his former assistant. After the professor pulled back the curtain, the guy saw a dead man lying in front of him. The guy couldn't understand what the hell was going on here, because this was a doomsday camp. The man replied that this was his family's laboratory. The one who left the elevator door would never come back out again. A few seconds later, words were heard in the room that the guy had gone against him, and everything ended badly. The guy started yelling at the whole room, asking what they were going to do with him. James told the guy not to worry because he wouldn't die right away. James first decided to test how the human body conducts electricity. The guy had awakened the ability to lightning. He couldn't figure out if he was afraid of electricity in that case, but in any case, he had to pretend that he was in pain in order to cooperate with them. James decided to use all his strength. 15 minutes later, James could not understand that he seemed to be made of rubber. He had not even died from a 1,000-volt electric shock, and the guy continued to lie unconscious. The man at this time was reasoning that the guy was really amazing. Even if he was a sea-level fighter, he wouldn't last even 5 minutes. But James was happy about this, because they could play with him longer. If he died quickly, it would be boring. James said that the professor could do whatever he wanted with him. They would bother him later. The professor said that the guy has phenomenal resistance to electricity. He will conduct the most dangerous experiments. After which, the professor began drawing some liquid into the syringe. When the guy regained consciousness, he asked what the professor was going to do, but the professor did not answer him at all, but was only surprised that he woke up because he thought that he would faint all day. The professor can no longer wait. This is an incredible drug. If it is introduced into the body, the consequences will be unpredictable. As it turned out, it was a potion of thunder and lightning perfectly made. But the guy realized that if he awakened the power of lightning, he had nothing to fear. Perhaps it would even help him. If the experiment is successful, the professor will become famous and save the world. The guy noticed that it hurt a little, and he felt the power rushing towards his mind, but his body didn't seem to reject it. His mental strength improves. This improved his mental strength as well as his skills and lightning control. Those who have special abilities actually control them with the help of the mind. A capable person changes the air around him with the help of the mind, transforming its element. Michael used his mind to contact the element of thunder, which reduced the damage to his body. The stronger the power of the mind, the stronger the lightning. Although the guy used the power of his mind to reduce the damage, the professor shocked him for 15 minutes. It's hard to bear just like that. The professor asked how the guy was feeling. Although the professor is talented, he teamed up with his family to kidnap people and experiment on them. And this is unforgivable, which is why the guy replied that nothing had changed, after which the professor said that this was understandable because he gave him a concentration of 20%. A concentration of 20% gives the guy an increase in mental strength, only slightly more than a regular mind potion. The 20% concentration of the potion only consumed 20 days. It seems that the guy's body is very resistant to the thunder potion. The 20% concentration increased his intelligence to D3. The professor decided to test a concentration of 40%. This time only 38 days. Incredible. There were 6 test subjects in total. Several died already at the 4th stage, but the guy survived to the 5th. It's truly incredible. The professor showed the guy a list and called him a really excellent assistant. There was some kind of list on the piece of paper. This means that the 6th test subject is at C1 and did not pass stage 5, most likely an unnatural death. Subsequently, the professor tried 60%, but the guy stopped him and said that he didn't have enough time. He would die from this dose. Initially, the guy had a lot of time, but the curator used up everything with his blows. The professor told the guy not to worry because he was rich enough to not let him die, after which he grabbed his hand. As it turned out, the professor had 8,000 days, but he gave the guy only 500 days. The guy's mind power was increased to D4. He received 1 lottery. This time there are only 43, less and less. The professor suggested trying the potion of the 4th and 5th stages again. After the professor again asked the guy if he felt any changes, oddly enough the guy replied that nothing had changed. The professor couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that the potion didn't even have a slight effect. The professor decided to increase his concentration. The professor asked the guy to wait because he would bring a new batch. If the family found out that the guy had received such a significant improvement thanks to their experiment, they would most likely be angry right now. The guy decided that when the time came, he needed to take evidence of their crime with him. It's too slow on your own. You need to be on the ground. And then think about how to save your sister. The 5th stage potion already has 100% concentration. The guy was wondering if the professor had a more powerful potion. It must be because of a sharp jump in the power of the mind that the guy became dizzy. He needs to meditate to improve his condition. The guy began to meditate. Second day, as it turned out, they were in the Doomsday training camp, underground laboratory B5. The professor used all the precious ingredients in the entire laboratory, all the products made here, so this time everything should work out. According to the professor, 10 bottles of the potion did not give any effect, and each bottle takes less and less time. The last bottle took only 3 days. The guy asked the professor if he had 3 more bottles left. The professor looked back. As it turned out, the concentration here is twice as high. After these words, it was clear from the guy that he became nervous because double concentration is already dangerous. Incredibly, the guy survived even after double concentration, but the guy noticed that there were 2 more left. The remaining bottles contain 3 times the concentration in 1 bottle, and in another it is 5 times more. The guy asked for a 3rd bottle. The professor liked his zeal. Judging by the past effect, this shouldn't be fatal for the guy. This is not maximum power, but the guy was in a lot of pain, but his attentiveness is increasing. For the sake of this, it is worth being patient. And his body began to hurt very much, but his mind was clearer than ever. With his attentiveness, he can even see ants in the corner. The professor again asked if anything had changed. Oddly enough, the guy once again answered that everything had not changed. The professor decided to proceed with a 5-time injection. This is the peak of his ability. If it does not work, he will have to attach this experiment. This bottle contains 5 times the concentration of the potion. This should be enough to raise the guy's mind power to the level of D9. This is the pinnacle of what the guy can do now. After the professor injects him with this injection, the guy will break these chains and kill them all. But their conversation was interrupted by James, who entered the room. He asked what they were doing here. The professor explained that he injected the guy with all the injections he had up to 3 times, and what he had in his hand was a bottle of 5 times the dose. James was surprised how the guy had not died yet. James admitted that the guy was really tenacious. He wanted to shock him several times before going to bed. In any case, if he saw how the guy was hurt, then he could consider his day a success. James asked the guy if he really doesn't care about life, after which he told the professor to give him an injection. Michael couldn't understand where the pain was coming from when it was only 5 times as big. James decided to electrocute Michael. The guy noticed that although the pain is unbearable, it seems that he is getting stronger. He can move to the next level. In a split second, he was freed from the chain. The first thing Michael did was prepare to deliver a powerful blow to James, which is exactly what he did. By some incomprehensible miracle, the guy was able to stay on his feet, but he began to choke on blood. The professor had a very strange reaction. He began to rejoice at this. The guy said that since the professor did all this for the family, he should also get what he deserves. The professor's last word was that he succeeded. He could. This is a secret laboratory without security. No one should see the guy or notice his new abilities. These given processes that can prove his guilt, the guy must give it to others. Now the guy needs to save his sister. 9th Hospital of the Extreme Region. The man offered Grace an apple to eat. The man said they were only ordered to protect them. Since Grace had her phone taken away, she couldn't tell the Knights what was going on here. Moreover, 2 men who are level D8 killers and Grace are no match for them. The man thought that some guy was calling Grace. They apparently didn't know about Michael. The guy asked to cover his sister. A split second later, he burst into the room. One of the men could not understand who he was. Michael immediately attacked him. Then he delivered a powerful blow. Only a few minutes later, the man realized that Michael was standing in front of him, after which he immediately attacked Michael to kill him. As expected, the man did not succeed, and instead of killing Michael, he died himself. The guy said that they needed to move out. He grabbed his sister on his back and they set off. Doomsday Camp. The instructor advised that today's training would test the candidate's mastery of new skills. The instructor noticed that someone called him on his phone. The instructor was informed that Michael escaped from the laboratory and killed everyone. It was clear from the expression on the instructor's face that he was not happy about this. The instructor went down to the underground laboratory. Entering the room, he saw James in front of him. The brother asked what happened here, but it was no longer his brother who turned to the instructor, but a temporary zombie. The guy couldn't believe that his brother was standing in front of him. A split second later, he noticed the professor approaching from behind him. Oddly enough, the guy reacted very quickly and repelled the professor's attack, after which the guy started taking care of his brother. He dealt him a powerful blow, after which he simply began to leave. James tried to catch up with his brother, but the guy was lucky and the elevator doors closed right before James practically entered the elevator. The guy decided that no one should know about this. At this time, Michael and Grace were looking for a place to stay, but Grace could not accept the fact that the brothers would leave unpunished. But the guy told the girl not to worry because he would take care of it later, after which they moved on. Although this is an extreme area, there should be no zombies here. Although the Gibson family is powerful, the guy has revealed their secrets. They must look for him now. The guy said that first he would find something for the girl and sister, then he would deal with Gibson. Now you can't trust anyone. The guy has no one to trust except his girlfriend. The guy opened the system. The guy added new abilities to the active and improved everything possible. Fighters below level C will not be able to do anything to him. But the guy can't go to the hospital, only to Uncle Ben. When the guy was a knight, he could not avoid injury. But the hospital is very expensive, so he was treated here. Entering the room, the guy found a patient being received. Uncle Ben clearly didn't recognize Michael and asked him how he could help. Taking off his mask, Michael announced that it was him. The uncle said that he had not seen Michael for a very long time. Michael said that he wanted to buy some glucose. The uncle said that it was better not to leave the city now because he heard that a large group of zombies was roaming outside. But the guy said that this was not for him, but for his sick friend, because going to the hospital was inconvenient. His uncle did not know what happened to his sister. He handed him the package. Dyad was informed that his clinic would soon close. The guy was perplexed by this. Currently, medicine prices are expensive. People simply cannot afford it. It looks like all the resources will go into the hands of the owners of those hospitals. The guy grabbed his uncle's hand. The guy gave his uncle 30 days and said that if he had problems, he could contact him at any time. And their conversation was interrupted by a man who came into the office to ask if his uncle had seen anyone suspicious. The man explained that there were some people who were buying a syringe and glucose, and so on. At this time, he looked at the package he gave to Michael. The man told his uncle that if he noticed someone suspicious here, he should immediately inform him, otherwise he would stop supplying him with goods. The uncle said that he understood. A few seconds later, the man noticed a package in Michael's hands. Michael realized that the man was from the Gibson family. He decided that he could not frame his uncle. He needed to escape, which he basically did a few seconds later. The man immediately grabbed the phone and said that Michael was nearby. The guy realized that this was bad for Uncle Ben, after which the guy noticed that 3 men were very close to him. The guy can't fix it now, but he'll figure it out later. The guy's path was blocked by a man who stood with a sign with his photo. The man could not understand how the guy dared to kill the citizens of their glorious city. In a split second, Michael knocked the man down, after which the man grabbed the phone and was ready to report that he had seen the guy. But the guy couldn't run far and was still discovered by 3 men, after which he began to fight with them. The guy's last words were that the Gibson family should leave the city. The guy could not understand why all 3 men believed that he was leaving the city. Grace asked the guy what he did that the whole city was talking about him. He reported that he had discovered the Gibson family's secret. The guy began to say that they organized an underground laboratory in the Doomsday Camp and carried out experiments on people there. Many died, and he too almost died like that. But in the process of escaping, he killed James and the professor. The girl suggested moving to London. Although there is a connection between these cities, it is maintained only by wanderers. Information is not transmitted so quickly. The guy said that he is not ready to move anywhere because his sister has not woken up yet. It is too dangerous, but they think that he is leaving, so it is safe here for now. The guy said that the girl does not need to be afraid of anything as long as he has the information. The Gibson family seems to be in the inner area, and his time is not enough to even walk in the outer area, so he needs a little time first. The guy reasoned that the Knights and the Chato family were in cahoots. Level D9, the guy should be able to fight the instructor. A split second later, the instructor himself dialed him. Over the phone, the instructor said that the guy would not be able to escape and asked him to give back what he had taken. But now the guy's initiative is in his hands. If they need a flash drive, first they must prepare 3,000 days. He also added that he needs a temporary card. It allows you to store time on it. The instructor told the guy to wait for information from him in the evening. The girl asked if the guy really wanted to give him the proof. Of course, the guy didn't intend to do this, but he needs revenge. Scrap metal plant. The guy knows this place well, so it's a great meeting place. The instructor is at the C3 level, and he is also self-confident. In his opinion, he will put the guy down with a flick of his finger. The guy wrote to the instructor to come to the scrap metal plant within half an hour. After 20 minutes, the instructor actually came himself. The guy was very surprised that he really came alone. The instructor received a message on his phone. The first thing the instructor asked was, where is what he needs? It's clear that the guy asked where what he needed was. The instructor threw something to the guy. Now the guy will be able to go out not only to the external, but also to his internal region. The conditions for entering the internal region are 3,000 days. The next thing the guy asked was for the instructor to cancel the hunt for him, but the instructor said that he could not do this. But the guy asked the instructor how he knew that he did not have a copy. The instructor clearly didn't like it, after which he took the phone and told everyone to cancel the search for Michael. Turning around, the instructor said that everything was ready, after which the guy threw the flash drive. The instructor, oddly enough, caught her. As it turned out, the guy planted a mini smoke bomb instead of a flash drive. The instructor told the guy not to even think about leaving. The man could not see the guy in the smoke. A split second later, the guy jumped out of the smoke and was ready to strike the instructor. But the instructor said that the guy is a complete fool if he doesn't understand the difference between C3 and D9. The guy asked if the instructor was really sure about this. Then he threw him several meters away with a powerful kick. The man landed. The guy said that this was his first lesson with an instructor. The menacing man said that he would now show the guy's place, after which he began to approach the guy to smash him to smithereens. Not to mention C3, it is not easy for a D9 level fighter to react to this attack in time. Although it is late in the evening and the place is very remote, it is safer not to attract attention. This is a city after all. Their battle was almost equal. The man couldn't understand what was going on because the guy wasn't particularly fast, but he also couldn't understand how he guessed his attacks. Tauntingly, the guy asked the man if he was starting to doubt himself. The guy said that he knows this abandoned city very well and has lived here for quite a long time. The man was furious. Then he began to approach the guy. But the guy, instead of fighting, retreated back. There was a trap right in front of the instructor's feet. Oddly enough, after a split second, he fell into this trap. The guy really didn't expect such tricks to work on a man. The man pulled out a gun and pointed it at the guy. But the guy reacted and knocked the gun out of his hands. It's almost night now, so if there was a shot, there would be a lot of trouble. The guy said that the instructor had almost no survival experience. He also asked if the instructor didn't know that a knife is more effective in close combat. The man asked if the guy wanted to kill him. The man deserves to die. He must die for the death of all the test subjects in their experiments. The guy's last words were for the man to go to hell, after which he plunged his knife straight into his chest. The man died instantly. The guy also decided to borrow time from the man, but the guy noticed something under his feet. There were car keys there. The guy decided to see what was interesting about her. The guy began to examine the seats, then the trunk, after which he got behind the wheel. Another destination in the outer zone must be the man's house. The guy got out of the car. The guy remembers that the car that hit his sister had a license plate. It was in the inner zone, an external area. He can safely use it to travel into it. There is nothing in the car. The guy decided to look at his house. Although there is no one here, as soon as the intruder appears, he will be surrounded within 3 minutes, after which the guy passed the post. The guy was heading towards the house. A few minutes later, he was already in front of the gates of the house. The guy was shocked by such a house. The guy decided that he needed to look carefully. Meanwhile, in one of the private offices in the inner area, Kevin Gibson, the head of the Gibson family, sat in his office. The head of the family asked if there was any news. The assistant said that he called, but no one answered him. In any case, he was finished. He had to count his losses. Second brother has already sent someone to fetch him, and it is estimated that he will be there soon. The man was furious at this news. The head of the family became furious after learning that Michael was surprised. He punished a certain person, cut him into pieces, and threw him to the dogs. At this time, Michael had almost entered the instructor's office. It was clear from him that the mansion was of an instructor, and this surprised him. The guy noticed that there are a lot of enhanced weapons at the moment, at least tens of thousands of days. There was also a genetic module in the house. There is also a large supply of genetic potions. With a D9 level guy, he's only a short step away from C. The genetic capsule increases not only a person's vitality, it also strengthens the body by developing the flesh and then repairing it. Especially in the case of a breakthrough from D9 to C1, an ordinary person may even lose consciousness. The guy woke up. A system appeared in front of the guy, where it was written that he had moved to rank C1, after which he received 1 profitable lottery. The guy seemed to have improved a lot. If he were to meet the instructor again, he should instantly defeat him with his mental strength. The guy decided to see if luck was on his side. It has the first level of energy use, it can break connections on itself, and make its carrier invisible. In other words, it's an invisibility cloak. The guy will really need this cloak. He will be able to run not only from the crazy Gibson family, but also from temporary zombies. This kind of good stuff should be put away first to avoid damage. The guy decided to see what else was in the house. Michael opened the shelves to see what was inside. There he found a time map. Then he went further to look at the house. He glanced at the photograph that stood on the table. As it turned out, in this photo there were the Gibson brothers and their other brother. Well, the guy noticed something interesting on the license plates of the car. Most likely the photo was the same car that hit Michael's sister. Mason Gibson, the young Gibson heir, hit Michael's sister. He promised that Mason would pay for it. A few seconds later, there was a knock on the door of the house. The CCTV cameras showed a guy standing in front of the doors. The guy decided that he would pretend to be the owner of this house. The guy noticed that the courier looked worried. This most likely worked to his advantage. The guy told the courier to just leave it and leave. The guy did just that, but the car never left. The guy left the house to figure out what was going on. He opened the car and saw that there was a fence and it looked like an animal cage. The guy peered slightly into the distance of the cage. A split second later, James tried to attack the guy. The guy clearly didn't expect to see him at the moment. The Gibson family really cares about their reputation and immediately rushed to deliver their son from the laboratory. According to the law of this city, only the one who found it can dispose of a temporary zombie, but if a zombie poses a danger, it is destroyed. Although James is already dead, he can help in overthrowing the Gibson family. This kind of evidence will definitely ruin their reputation. If this video spreads, the Gibson family will definitely pay for what they did. And if information about the experiments is attached, they will definitely face difficult times. And if James died an unnatural death, the guy doesn't think James had much time. He's level D9 at most. A few seconds later, the guy opened the cage and James began to attack him. It is clear that Michael did not allow himself to be caught so easily. Michael delivered a powerful blow to the stomach. It was expected Michael easily defeated James. He found several instructor cards. Maybe very soon the guy will not be able to rise to C1, after which the guy went back to the house. A few minutes later, the strangers waiting around the house discussed that the instructor did not like it when his house was entered, so they should wait outside, after which the guy went into the house. Entering the house, he saw that the guy was standing in front of the TV and looking somewhere into the distance. Apparently, the stranger did not recognize Michael and thought he was someone from the Gibson family. He said that he needed to take his brother home. After a few seconds, Michael realized it was from the Gibson family. After the guy turned around, the stranger instantly recognized Michael and asked what he was doing there. The stranger asked the guy where the second young master was. It doesn't look like the stranger knows how to fight. The guy's instincts tell him that the stranger is at least C1 level. Some fighters can fight at long distances with great strength, but as soon as you close the distance, they turn into helpless, and an experienced fighter will never allow anyone to get close to him, after which Michael asked the stranger who the second young master behind him was. The guy actually turned around and looked behind him. It is clear that this was a distraction. In a split second, Michael was approaching the stranger. Michael was ready to deliver the most powerful and finishing blow to the guy, but the stranger easily dodged this blow. Then he called Michael too weak. The next thing the stranger did was throw Michael several meters away from him. This is a fire elemental technique, a ring of fire. Some fire elemental fighters can create a ring of fire around themselves to drive away the enemy. The only drawback is that it cannot be used continuously. But since Michael had recently reached C1 level, he was confident that he could kill the stranger. The stranger told Michael that if he did not chicken out, then he should try to attack him again. An excellent technique, the stranger blocked the guy's escape route with shots. He uses his strength well even in such a small space. He has good experience. But the guy couldn't block. It was clear from the guy that he was a little nervous. The stranger literally held a fireball in his hand. A split second later, the stranger launched the ball at Michael. The stranger's attack speed is slow for a guy. A second later, an explosion occurred in the building. The stranger was confident that he would defeat the guy. Michael didn't expect the fire to be so strong. Michael has extensive experience in fighting temporary zombies, but for the first time he met the owner of the element, also a C1 level fighter. The stranger said that he would not attack, but the guy apparently wasn't particularly interested in this proposal, after which he took out a pistol and started firing at the guy. Although Michael's gun is strong, it is useless against a man with the elements. Although the stranger's body is slow, he even notices how the guy pulls the trigger. But the guy knows about all this. The stranger could not understand what the guy was talking about. The guy said that he did not try to aim at the stranger. These droplets are not enough. The stranger will evaporate them. This is not enough, but thanks to them the guy will be able to defeat the stranger. The guy began to use the improved ability of the Thunder Snake. He was determined. The stranger could not understand what it was. It's unclear why the guy took up the water, after which he sends electricity through this water. The stranger could not understand how this was possible because the guy was physically weak. How could he even have the element at the same time? The guy was practically attacked by a snake. It was as if she had cut him into several pieces in a split second. The people standing outside could not understand what happened in the building, why everything suddenly caught fire. Entering the house, they saw the eldest lying on the floor and Michael standing over him. He fights well physically. Other guys have power belts that increase strength, and since the element of fire itself is offensive, it creates a strong attack. But thunder is stronger than lightning, and these belts won't do anything to the guy. A split second later, a volley of pistols was launched towards the guy. They must not reveal that the guy has such lightning, otherwise there will be even more problems. None of them should be left alive. Cries for help could be heard from the burning building. The fire is growing, the guy needs to leave quickly. While standing, the guy heard sirens. He was surprised that they arrived so quickly. The guy immediately ran out of the building. There were at least 10 people standing around the building. There were too many people with strong weapons standing there. The guy climbed out onto the roof somewhere. He opened the menu. The guy must make Mason pay for what he did earlier. Before it's too late, we need to destroy the Gibson family. Otherwise, the new arrest warrant will make it harder for the guy himself. This family is not so simple. You have to be careful. Otherwise, the guy will not only not cure his sister, but will also set himself up. This is so hypocritical. Even from white people, they make money. Their influence is incredible. Defeating this family will not be easy. The guy needs to go back and come up with a plan. The guy came to the apartment where Grace and his sister were. This girl is quite reliable. She doesn't walk or run around the streets. When the guy entered the apartment, he was immediately greeted by Grace. After the guy asked the girl if she was resting, she replied that she couldn't sleep because something had happened. She showed the news that the instructor's house burned down. The guy was glad that the house was completely burned down, because then no one would know about his lightning power. The girl checked on the internet. The instructor is the second son of the Gibson family, the most influential family. The girl said that the guy was calmly capable of doing this because he was quite strong. The guy said that the girl can go to rest. Now it's his turn to look after his sister. The guy came to his sister's room. His sister is in a coma and only needs peace. The guy told his sister that he had found the person who did this to her, and soon he would be able to take revenge for her. The next day came. The girl was leaving her room and noticed a package in the guy's hands. The girl opens the package and looks at what is inside, after which the guy said that his arrest warrant had been lifted. The guy also added that they couldn't stay here yet. He needed to go to the inner area. The girl didn't understand how a guy could do this. He would go to the inner area to eat aromatic, delicious pizza there and put it here with bread and noodles. But the guy clearly did not appreciate the girl's joke and said that he was not going to have fun. He wanted to avenge his sister. The girl could not understand what kind of revenge he was talking about and also asked him if it was dangerous. But the guy asked the girl not to worry and said that he had a plan, after which he took her hand. The guy asked the girl not to worry, adding that nothing would happen to him. Although the warrant was dropped, if the Gibson family found out that the guy was alive, there would be problems. While the guy was walking down the street, everyone was discussing the death of the Doomsday Camp coach. The instructor's heart has been damaged, so he cannot turn into a zombie. Although the guy did not steal his car, but he turned on a special mode, the car could not be tracked. And here is the border of the outer zone. The guy saw a wanted notice in front of him. If he doesn't want problems, he must use the old methods. The guy stood in front of the highest fence. Anyone who wants to enter the inner area must carry 3,000 days. The management of the inner areas is much stricter than the outer circles, so the crime rate can be kept below 0.1% all year round. However, for a fighter, this is not a problem. Simply put, this limitation was not originally designed for C1 fighters. If you have C1, it is quite possible not to have 3,000 days. And this is the same inner area. The inner area is thriving. The guy had to be here several times. Each time he could not get rid of this feeling. The Silton Hotel where Grace used to live. Entering the hotel, the guy asked to give him a room on the north side. It takes 20 days to live here for one day, which is twice as expensive as in the outer region, but it's all for the sake of revenge. The guy entered room number 3103. He immediately moved to the balcony. The guy opened the curtains. As it turned out, right under his windows was the mansion of the Gibson family. The building is strictly guarded. Their armed men are everywhere. The Gibson family is rich. They definitely have C-level fighters on their guard. The guy doesn't even know how much blood and money they needed to accumulate such an army. To take revenge, he needs to at least have both types of powers at C1 level. The guy had already changed clothes, stood and did something near the window. As it turned out, the guy was writing something on a piece of paper. 5 days passed. Mason never left the house. He enjoyed life on the estate, and the guy did not have the opportunity to see him. It looks like the guy has no chance. There were few guards during the day, but they were too conspicuous, so you can do it at night. But at night, the head of the family returns from work. Here is the flash drive from the laboratory. It contains evidence of the Gibson family's illegal experiments. It will be difficult for them to escape punishment. But the guy is going to take revenge for his sister on his own. Some unknown number dialed the guy. Not bad. It took the guy 100 days to buy the information on the black market. It's really detailed. The family has established an estate in the inner region, which is heavily guarded, including the scion of the Wu family, whose strength reaches level C. It is no wonder that the family from the inner region can control most of the pharmaceutical industry. This is troublesome. The Wu family in the central region is one of the two main families. After building a city together with another family, they followed the city authority to clear this area of temporary zombies. Now almost all the knights are on their side. Even if they rely on the Wu family, the pain of the guy's sister must be avenged no matter what. The guy went to the bed. He started meditating. It was clear from him that he was concentrated. The guy opened his eyes, somehow alarmed. Looking at his hand, he was glad that he had finally reached the C1 level. Going from level D9 to C1 is a threshold, and the difficulty of advancement increases significantly. Countless people are stuck here. However, a breakthrough gives a big jump in strength. The guy began to laugh somehow maliciously throughout the room. The guy didn't expect such power. He didn't even have to drink the genetic potion. The guy again received a profitable lottery. Every time a guy passes the letter level, he gets a chance to choose a profitable lottery with which the prize is not limited to his letter level. After all, at least his invisibility cloak was useful. The guy changed into it in front of the mirror. This is just a godsend, so he can run not only from the crazy Gibson family, but also from temporary zombies. But it consumes too much energy. He must raise his power to C1 and use the flash drive to lure out the heads of the Gibson family so he can take revenge. He used Starry Sky meditation. The next day came. The guy was very serious and confident. The guy again received one profitable lottery. The guy was wondering what would happen this time because last time he was lucky. The guy received a lightning rod. Judging by his reaction, he didn't know what it was. The lightning rod consumes a large amount of mental power. The lightning power can be collected from the body's electrolytes, which not only improves the body, but also enhances the lightning power. The guy began to try out a new toy. This technique not only improves his body, even perception is getting better. In the corner of the room, the guy noticed an insect. The guy noticed a waiter walking down the corridor. They are sleeping in the next room. This move is too good. It makes all of his moves level C1. As it turned out, a lightning rod costs 3,000 days. If the guy advances to the third stage, it will be even more useful. The first stage costs 3,000 days, the second stage 5,000 days, the third stage 1,000 days. With the lightning rod, the guy's chances of success became even higher. Even though the guy has been training all day, he doesn't feel tired. On the contrary, he is full of energy. The head of the family leads a measured life. He rarely leaves the house. There are few opportunities for him, and the risk is high. But the guy had an idea. He wrote a message to someone. The anonymous email was sent successfully. 50 minutes have passed. The head of the family hurriedly left. It seems that he received the news. The Gibson family is really powerful. However, no matter how strong their powers are, such a big trouble is not something the Gibson family can handle on their own. They are helped by the Wu family. But Mason must pay for the blood of the guy's sister at the gates of the Gibson family estate. The man told his partner not to be so nervous. This is the Gibson family, and their 30 people are just ordinary guards, not to mention the earthbenders who take turns and also help them. The guy said that people with earth abilities can hear other people's footsteps at a great distance. But his partner said that it's not a matter of hearing. While he walks on the ground, they feel it. My partner said that smoking is expensive and also wastes time. He quit a long time ago. The man said that it was a pity and started smoking. The partner heard some noise not far from him. The guy said that it was most likely a cat. Nothing usually happens on the night shift. At this time, the sound of a jump was heard. Someone has landed. As expected, it was Michael in his new invisibility cloak. The Gibson family took over almost every important medical facility in the city, like Uncle Ben's hospital and the place where the guy's sister was treated. Even the guy understands that this is a huge amount. At this time, a security guard was smoking in the botanical garden. The rat itself came into its own trap. The guard abruptly moved from his place, saying that he would catch the rat. The guy ran to the wall but found nothing there. The guy was surprised because he felt movement here, but apparently he was mistaken. After a split second, he focused his gaze on something. I saw a body lying in front of me. I saw a knife mark on the guy's body. Fighter D8 is hit by a knife blow, at least Fighter C1. Out of nowhere, the sounds of walking were heard again. The guy couldn't understand what was happening here. A split second later, he was taken down by Michael, his earthly abilities giving him incredible sensitivity to his movements. But when approaching, he still cannot do anything. Well, as it turned out, the guard had an improved level D skill, stone armor. Fortunately, the security guard responded quickly, after which the guard used the improved earthquake skill. Michael was able to dodge it in time, after which he set to work on the security guard. A second later, he was already above the guard and was ready to strike him. As expected, he knocked the guard down. A terrifying force. Such a force should not attract attention. Then the guy's plan is in jeopardy. Michael decided to take the guard's body out of sight, after which he was about to open the door to the house. The guy checked several entrances. They do not work. It seems they can only be opened from the inside. A few seconds later, the security guard came out of the house to smoke. It is clear that he did not notice Michael, and it was because of this that he was able to enter the house. The door closed. There were several dozen servants inside the house. One of the servants dropped the kettle from her hands. The partner asked the girl to be careful. If the gentleman or someone else had seen this, the girl would have been in trouble. But since they don't seem to go out at night at all, everything turned out okay. Based on observations over the past few days, Mason's room is located in the south wing, on the second floor. Oddly enough, the guy began to climb to the second floor. He went up to the second floor. The guy stopped in front of Mason's room. At this time, the guy was flirting with some girl in his room. The guy couldn't understand how he had the audacity to have fun when his two brothers died. The guy himself confirmed that his two brothers died. Even the girl was surprised that the guy was so happy about their death, but he argued that he would not need to share the inheritance with anyone. Of course, how could the guy forget? The Gibson family is rotten, every single one of them. A split second later, the guy burst into the room. He just caught a guy and a girl kissing, after which the guy swung his hand to deliver a powerful blow. But Mason, instead of fighting with Michael, simply pushed the girl away. Unlike the guy, Michael was not a creep and rushed to catch the girl. Michael stopped. Michael was practically next to the guy. They looked at each other. A person who uses others as a shield is a loser. After Michael had already managed to catch the girl, Mason began to attack him. It is clear that Michael easily dodged this blow, after which he was ready to strike. That's exactly what he did. He delivered a powerful blow right to Mason's stomach. The guy couldn't understand how this even happened because he is a C3 level fighter. Well, what can C3 do when the guy was stuffed with potions and serums? My son had never seen Michael until that moment. The guy asked Michael who he was and how he dared to attack his family. Michael said that he would kill the guy. Mason noticed that the guy was really determined. Mason said that you just need to press the red button. The guy will die no matter how strong he is, which is exactly what he tried to do in a split second. He was already a few centimeters from the button. He had literally 1 centimeter left to press the button and end Michael. But that was not the case. The guy's hand began to ooze blood. Michael was holding some kind of device in his hands. Meanwhile, Mason was writhing in pain in his arm. Mason asked not to kill him. He could give the guy as much time as he wanted. There were time cards in the locker. But Michael said time cards wouldn't help pay for his sister's health care. It's clear that he didn't understand who the guy was talking about. Michael explained to him that he hit his sister with his car, and she is still in a coma. Mason was perplexed by this information. Once Mason was driving his car with a girl. The guy asked if she could drive, but the girl said that it was better for the guy to drive slower, because what would happen if he hit someone? To which he replied that every day people die in droves. He could not understand what would happen if he killed a couple now. Well, if the guy kills them, he will be punished. But that was not the case. Mason is a member of the Gibson family. Who would even dare to punish him? He noticed a girl walking in front of him on a pedestrian. The guy deliberately pressed the gas to full. A split second later, the girl's purse flew up, after which the girl was lying on the pedestrian. There was a pool of blood near her. After Mason had already remembered what he had done, he asked if the guy was really her brother. The guy did not expect that a month would pass so quickly. Mason has to hold on. Since the guy just shot, security should come soon. But Michael has already figured it all out, after which shots were heard in the room. Immediately, several bullets pierced the guy's chest. Sighing, the guy was glad that he had finally taken revenge, after which the guy pulled out the locker. The guy was surprised that the security came so quickly. The guards were the brother of the head of the Gibson family, a C4 level fighter, and the Gibson family guard commander, a C2 level mage. Entering the room, they were surprised to see some stranger in the room. Oddly enough, the guy decided that he needed to leave. This guy looks strong. It will be difficult to defeat him. The big man turned to the guy. The guy was furious after he saw his brother's dead son on the floor. The guy was surprised that the head of the family had a brother at level C4, and he also became furious when he remembered that there was not a single information about him. As expected, the big man began to attack the guy. So strong, although he is only one level above Mason, he is definitely a master who has been in life and death battles. The guy started to run away. The big guy asked his partner to leave the guy to him, after which the partner waved 2 fingers. As it turned out, he has rare water abilities. The guy was clearly nervous from what he saw. Although waterbenders are not very powerful, they have a much higher status than ordinary magic in this apocalyptic environment where water is in short supply. But quickly collecting his thoughts, the guy used his strength and hit this ball of water, after which he broke the glass and landed on the floor. Oddly enough, 2 fighters immediately went after him. They jumped off the building, although they looked around the house to see where the guy might be. The big man said that he could handle the guy and asked his partner to go and take care of his brothers, after which the magician went into the house and the big man went towards the forest. A second later, a rustling sound was heard in the bushes, but before he had time to move far, someone shot him in the magician's face. Oddly enough, it was Michael. They started to fight. The magician used his power, but the guy managed to dodge her. A second later, Michael discovered that the rest of the guards were already approaching them. The magician appreciated that the guy was able to dodge, but he also said that he was about to die. The head of the family should not survive, but the magician, in addition to the abilities of water, also has healing powers. The guy simply cannot allow the magician to save the head. The magician used some unimaginable defense technique. He fills the air around him with energy so quickly, he is truly capable, but it's all about the ring on his neck. Michael was ready to deal a powerful blow to the magician. He used the crushing mountain strike, after which he literally pounded the guy into the wall, and then he completely punched her. This blow was filled with incredibly powerful force. The guy's ribs cracked, which meant that the blow was not a simple one. Subsequently, the guy flew into the wall. The pendant focuses on D-tier weapons, helping to speed up the conversion of air into the wearer's element and helping to increase attack power. Michael noticed that a few meters away from him, the guards still managed to notice him. As expected, after a few seconds, they started shooting at the guy. Incredibly, not a single bullet hit the guy. The guards couldn't understand how this was even possible. They didn't even believe that the guy was really S1 because all their shells missed. But one of the guards said to stop talking and finally finish the guy off. A second later, they started shooting at the guy again, but this time he didn't just stand there for the bullets to pass by him, but began to dodge them. The guy doesn't need to fight them. He needs to find a way to return to the second floor to check if Mason is dead and leave immediately. While he was contemplating his actions, a big man behind him was ready to strike. But the guy was very lucky, and he managed to react to this in time, and the big man's blow hit the ground. What a terrifying power. He must be using a Tier C technique. His gloves are upgraded Tier C weapons. If the guy had been even a little slower, he would have 100% died. He was seriously injured by the guy. He won't live long if he takes out this Gibson. He will be able to plunder the entire Gibson family, and by then his strength and ability level will increase significantly. The big man wasted no time and began to attack the guy. Oddly enough, this time the guy was able to dodge, after which the big man began to generate some kind of ball of energy right in his hands. As it turned out, he used an improved Move C, Tiger Mouth Strikes. The guy had no point in defending himself. He could only attack. After the guy used the blow of the destroying mountain, an incredibly powerful explosion occurred in the yard. The guards immediately shielded themselves from such an explosion because you never know what could happen to them. The big guy flew straight into a tree from such an explosion, thereby breaking it. The guards couldn't believe it because someone managed to defeat the big guy. They saw the silhouette of a man right in the smoke that remained after the explosion. Michael came out of the smoke, and around him there was a dome shining in blue, which protected him from damage from the explosion, which he himself had caused. The guards had their own version. Some said that this was a strengthening technique, and some that it was a special strengthening technique, while others suggested that the guy was at a high level C. The guy was happily surprised that he found out what a lightning rod is. He created this explosion. The guy feels how he is overwhelmed with power. Unfortunately, he can no longer use it. He cannot attract even more noise. But as it turned out, the big man did not die, and while the guy was thinking, he was ready to attack again. The big man began to deliver a series of powerful blows. The guards standing nearby were surprised at this, because they could not even develop them. The big guy is strong. Without a lightning rod, the guy wouldn't have lasted even 10 blows. But the guy shouldn't waste time. After these words, he counterattacked the man. Then there was a flash. After the guards saw that the guy was planning to escape, they began shooting at him repeatedly. It is clear that not a single bullet hit the guy, and he ran away towards the forest. The big man followed him. Although the man is very strong, he is slower than Michael. It's bad. The gentleman has turned into a temporary zombie. The guards cannot stop him. The man was perplexed by what he heard. The man promised that he would find out who Michael was. At this time, Michael stopped on a tree and watched the entire conversation of the men. The big man went into the house to see what was going on with the gentleman. As the guard basically said, the guy really turned into a temporary monster. Stretching out his hand, the guy said the words that he had finally avenged his sister. Out of hope that this was the last time he would see this house, he looked at the Gibson family estate. Then he came down from the tree, and he most likely went home. Headquarters of the Marauder Knights. Several groups of men, 2 at a time, were sparring. And here is the main office. In the office, where there was a tiger skin carpet on the floor, a man was sitting. As it turned out, this man was the main commander of the Marauder Knights. The man threw something. As it turned out, the book he was sitting and reading, he apparently threw it at his subordinate. The commander-in-chief could not understand how a man dared to bring him such news. He tried to explain to him how much effort he put into this plan. As it turned out, the commander-in-chief was the man's uncle. He said that it was an accident, and he did not want to disrupt the plan. But the uncle didn't care about the man's excuses. He said that if something goes wrong this time, not only the man, but he too would not be able to escape punishment. But the man could not understand what he could do to them. The man said that a little more and this entire city would be defeated. But the commander-in-chief asked the man not to rush. Foreign economic relations had not yet been established. The man could not understand this and asked whether there were enough temporary zombies left outside to break the gate. The uncle replied that in the corner cities there were also knights, wanderers, and defenders. Marauders would be useless in this case. Their conversation was interrupted by a subordinate who entered the room and addressed the commander-in-chief. This man was the deputy head of the Marauder Knights. The commander-in-chief ordered everyone to be mobilized before dawn and be sure to catch Michael and get the original files directly into his hands. The man said that Michael is just a small child and the Marauder Knights will definitely be able to catch him before dawn. It will not take much time and effort. In addition, the commander-in-chief said to lock the man up. What he heard made the man not only furious, but also confused. He tried to find out why his uncle was doing this to him. The commander-in-chief argued his actions by saying that if something goes wrong, the man's life will be a bait. All these things were made by the Gibson family, and the commander-in-chief's family knew nothing about them. The head of the family asked if the commander-in-chief was going to use him as a scapegoat, but the man didn't really try to listen to the head. He only added that they needed success, and luck was unacceptable. On the street, all the fighters lined up in a row. The man held out a photograph in front of the fighters and said that this man's name was Michael. He was the most wanted man in the city. His level was D9. Reward for those who can catch him 10,000 days and promotion to commander. One of the fighters was clearly happy that the reward would be 10,000 days and also an increase because he is a simple D9 fighter and the reward for him is higher than for C5. The man didn't waste any time and told everyone to get started, which is exactly what the fighters were going to do. A group of fighters set out to search for Michael. At this time, the guy was simply walking around the city at night. He noticed that the marauders were approaching him. 2 men were riding on the same motorcycle. The girl had a katana. The guy could not understand why the looters were traveling in groups around the city. A man sitting on a motorcycle asked his partner if this was the guy they were looking for, but his partner told him that this could not be true because hundreds of people were looking for him. It could not be that they were so lucky. The partner said that they did not need to waste time because tomorrow he was leaving the city for resources, so they needed to save energy. The guy realized that the looters were controlled by the Wu family. If he wanted to live, he just needed to hold out until dawn. The guy was walking along the streets of the city at night. Michael noticed some movement right behind him. A split second later, Michael was attacked by the same big guy. His blow was so powerful that the guy broke through the wall. The big man was glad that he had finally found a guy. The guy was, on the contrary, not happy that the man found him. This place is too close to the shelter, so the guy can't fight here because this could make this place declassified. The guy decided to simply run away from the scene instead of fighting the man. It was clear that he was confident in his victory over the guy. In an incomprehensible way, the man was able to catch up with the guy, and incomprehensibly, because the last time the guy ran away, the man did not have the slightest chance of catching up with him. The guy urgently needed to come up with a plan. The first thing that came to the guy's mind was to use a lightning rod, after which he was ready to fight the man. Their battle was almost equal in strength, but still the guy managed to hit the man with a blow right in the face. On the street where they fought, red sparks sparkled from the guy's strength and yellow energy balls from the man's strength. With the guy's strengthening skill, his strength increased greatly. The man said that Michael killed Mason and the others. He was not destined to see the sun tomorrow. It felt like the guy easily repelled the man's blows and didn't feel them at all. It seems that the man cannot be defeated with ordinary blows, so Michael needs to come up with something more serious. But the guy also can't spend a lot of energy. After all, he is being pursued not only by the Gibson family and the Wu family, but by the entire city. As soon as the world learns that physical strength can exist in one body of elemental power, he will be experimented on. A guy can use his lightning against a man. The guy must take his sister and leave the city. This is the only thing he could do because he simply has no choice. And the man began to increase the intensity of his blows. After which, without stopping, the man was ready to deliver the finishing blow. But the guy again did not defend himself from his blow, but rather delivered his own blow. The man flew several meters away, but was able to stay on his feet. Michael had a similar situation. The man caught the guy off guard. The guy began to use some incomprehensibly unimaginable technique. Even the man couldn't understand what the guy was going to do. Lightning flashed around the guy. But the guy's preparation to use his power was interrupted by a voice that said that he had found Michael's girlfriend and sister. The man admits that the guy is strong, but now he has hostages. The guy asked what the man wanted. He asked to hand over the files and promised that they would release them. The guy couldn't understand whether the man really thought that he had a flash drive with him, but this was his last trump card. If he gave it away, he would be finished. The man said that he was giving the guy 10 seconds to think. Otherwise, he would give the order to kill them. But the guy had no choice. He needed to save his sister and girl. The man gave a warning. Apparently, the guy doesn't care too much about his sister if he's not going to do anything. The man called the head of the Gibson family and said that Michael was with him, also adding that Michael refused to give up the files, so he would have to kill him. But the head said that the man could not kill him until he received the files. He told him to bring him to him. The man told the guy that he was lucky this time, but the guy realized that the family was afraid that he would publish the files, so they couldn't do anything with his sister. It seems that you can only negotiate with them using a flash drive. The guy and the man were riding in the car, but Michael was clearly not happy about it. They reached one of the core of the Marauder Knights. The guy was surprised that the building in front of him was the headquarters of the looters. The headquarters of the Marauder Knights is the safest place in the city for those who have never seen the outside world. If an accident occurs, this place can be immediately turned into a shelter. Walking through the headquarters, the guy and the man were accompanied by people with weapons. And the guy caught condemning glances from the fighters, by the way. They were level C with his strength. The guy himself won't survive here, let alone move his sister here. The guy hid the files well. He recalled that he buried them under some tree. Entering the office next to the guy, there were 2 men at least level C4. The guy was very surprised when he saw no one in front of him. He guessed that the head of the Marauder Knights himself was standing in front of him. Rumor has it that the man is level C9. The guy couldn't believe that the man was really level C9 because he had too much energy. Just one glance froze the guy's body. The man asked the guy if he was the same Michael who killed almost the entire Gibson family. He answered menacingly that it was true. The man said that the guy, of course, was brave, but he shouldn't talk to him like that. But the guy didn't really care. He was only interested in where his sister was. The man waved his hand. A few seconds later, the sister was brought into the room in a wheelchair, and Grace stood next to her. After the guy asked if everything was okay, Grace replied that they were fine. The guy couldn't understand why they were so kind. Apparently, they want to seem noble. The man said that he did not give them any offense, and not only that, he can get the services of the best doctor in this city, use the most modern medical equipment to cure his sister. Of course, all this is for files. The guy asked if he looked like a fool. As soon as he returned the files to them, the three of them would die. All this could be avoided if they held out until dawn. The man asked the guy not to waste time and called him son. The guy noticed that this old man was not bad. The guy's sister was hit by Mason's car, so he killed him. He also killed the other two Gibson brothers. The guy couldn't believe they would just let him go. But the man promised that he would give him his word. But the guy didn't believe him. A few seconds later, the head of the family burst into the room. For the first time, his words were that he could not afford to let Michael go. He couldn't understand how they could let him go, because Mason and the others were dead. Moreover, if he doesn't have the files with him, under torture he will definitely tell. But the man did not tolerate such treatment and hit the head of the family with all his might. The man asked the head what would have happened if he had not stood here. If the man violated his plan, then he would not live. The guy couldn't understand what plan he was talking about. The man asked again what the guy thought. The man asked the guy not to worry. The best medical team is under his control. Even if she does not recover completely, the sister will receive decent care. The guy couldn't understand how this old fox dared to say that if he kills him, he won't see the sun tomorrow. The man told the commander that it was too late. Not in a good way, but in a bad way. The man promised the commander-in-chief that in 10 minutes he would guarantee the completion of the task, after which he clearly began to deal with Michael. Grace asked the guy to help her. The guy noticed that the girl and his sister were being taken somewhere. The commander-in-chief was informed that the lord of the city was here. The man was somewhat shocked by this information. The man's counter-question was how many people the city lord had brought, to which he was told that only one, and they would be here soon. The commander-in-chief ordered to bring people and not make noise here. The man who was in charge of watching Michael, Grace, and his sister said that if they dared to resist, he would kill them on the spot. The guy came up with the idea that it looks like the Lord saw those files, and now the Gibson family and VU have come to an end. The city lord used to be level B, but he was recently seriously injured and is now level C9. The old man is used to peace. It's too late for him to get involved in conflicts. He brought only one with him if they can't deal with them today. Then they will not need to implement their plan. The residents will be calm. Everyone will be happy. The guy couldn't understand why they were all against the Lord. The guy noticed that the guy standing next to him was all level C5. If you attack on the sly, there shouldn't be any problems, but most likely there are a lot of guards outside. Day after day, the guards fight the remaining zombies of time. One of the main tasks of the Marauder Knights is to hunt time zombies and collect available supplies, which means the strength of the Marauders is comparable to the strength of the defenders who guard the city. The Lord of the city entered the room with one subordinate. The Commander-in-Chief greeted him. The Lord's first question was why the Commander-in-Chief couldn't sleep today. The man asked what the Lord was doing here because he really couldn't understand it. The Commander-in-Chief told the head of the family to kneel before the Lord. The man immediately began to apologize to the city lord. He agreed that he was wrong. He was also worried about the well-being of their city. The Lord could not understand why they were conducting experiments on innocent people, to which the man replied that this experiment was almost a success. If it was successful, the time zombie would no longer threaten not only their city. People will also return to their position as the dominant power on Earth without hiding. In any case, they should not experiment with the lives of innocent people. There are rumors that the old man's condition is deteriorating. His strength is only C9, then why does he look full of life? If everything goes according to plan, then they will achieve their goal if they act now. If something goes wrong, then all the hard work will go down the drain. The Commander-in-Chief said that it was his fault that the head of the family acted this way. He asked the Lord to provide the man to him and promised that he would deal with him. The man began to guess that the Commander-in-Chief wanted to kill him. The man said that the Commander-in-Chief wants him to become a scapegoat for him, but this is impossible. The Commander-in-Chief glanced at the guy standing next to him, after which he immediately approached the Lord's guard and twisted his neck. The man began to say that he had endured the Lord for a long time. When they put things in order here together, he could not understand why he became the Lord of the city. The man saw that the Lord was confused. Doesn't he understand? He won't survive tonight. It's better for him to immediately give up power so that he leaves his body intact. The man said that the Lord, while dying, was pretending to be a B-level fighter. A split second later, the fighters attacked the Lord. The guy realized that they really want to kill the Lord, but this is a good moment for him to escape. He asked Grace to close her eyes, which is exactly what she did, after which he began to use a lightning rod. The first victim that caught the guy's eye was the same man who was responsible for them. As was, in principle, expected and logical, he swept this man off his feet. Then he shouted to Grace that they needed to leave. Meanwhile, the Lord defeated everyone who tried to harm him. The commander-in-chief could not understand why the Lord was still so strong, because he was dying. The commander-in-chief grabbed the phone and said to begin executing the plan. The plan was to bring chaos to this city. It wouldn't be long before the time zombies broke through the gates of their city. The Lord was once again perplexed by the words of the commander-in-chief. The guy couldn't understand why they were doing this, because they were ready to destroy the city for the sake of the Lord's place. The Lord realized that this was not good. The wandering zombies of time had suddenly gathered, and for some reason were approaching the city fronts, after which he dealt a powerful blow to the commander-in-chief. The blow was so strong that he flew into the wall, after which the Lord began to attack the soldier standing next to him. Meanwhile, Michael, Grace, and sister were running away as fast as they could. Coming out onto the roof, they saw that complete chaos was really going on in the city. Most of the buildings were burning with ash. Temporary zombies were literally all over the city.